Have you ever heard of the Bunny Man?
Science fiction.
The first sighting was 13 days before Halloween, and, like all the best spooks and scares, it was after midnight. An Air Force cadet and his fiancée were sitting in their idle car. They were parked in a field across from a relative's home. They didn't heed the warnings of so many urban legends and horror stories, which all too often begin on autumn nights and parked cars on empty stretches of land. But now, as they noticed creeping movement in their rear window, they found themselves in a slasher movie of their very own. A stranger's fist shattered the back window. Amidst the wreckage of broken glass, there stood a man dressed in white. So close now, without even the coverage of a car window to separate them, the couple could see his face, his eyes glowing like campfire, his mouth parted in a snarl, his graveyard of decayed teeth. So close they could even feel his breath penetrating the night air, wisps of heat goosebumping over their skin. The cadets spun the car around and floored it. As they made their escape, the man shouted after them, his mocking words carrying through the broken window and trailing after them like exhaust fumes. "You're on private property! You are trespassing!" Admittedly, those might not be the most cinematic or terrifying words he could have chosen, but still. Their window was smashed, the memory of his face was scratched into their minds, and, worse yet, as they peeled away, they realized with dawning horror that he hadn't used his fist to break the glass after all. There was a hatchet now resting on the car floor. The strangest detail, however, was that the man seemed to be wearing bunny ears? Yes, long white bunny ears with a matching suit. But why? Who was this Looney Tune? Reports vary on whether or not the couple went to the police, but regardless, neither the man nor the motive was ever determined. 2 days before Halloween, he struck again. This time, though on the same road, the scene was set at the construction site of a housing project, surrounded by woods. While wandering the grounds that evening, a security guard was confronted by the unexpected intruder, a bunny man. He ambled around the porch of an unfinished house, dressed again in his white rabbit suit. The only difference was that, while his ears previously stood upright, now they flopped and flapped as he performed his own bit of construction, chopping away at one of the porch's posts, using his weapon of choice, another hatchet. The guard didn't know who, or what, he'd stumbled upon, but he felt a distinct sense of dread as he drew closer to the porch. He met eyes with the bunny man. A shiver snaked up his spine. He opened his mouth to say something, but the bunny spoke first. "You are trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll chop off your head." The guard froze, eyeing the hatchet. Was this rabbit serious? Demented? Pulling a prank? Whatever the case, the guard had a growing sense of unease gnawing away at him like a pair of buck teeth devouring a carrot. Those sounded like fighting words, and the last thing the guard wanted was to be felled by Thumper. If he was now pest control, so be it. He decided to return to his car to retrieve his handgun. But then, as mysteriously as he'd arrived, the bunny man hopped off the porch and disappeared into the neighboring forest. He was gone. While neither the police or Mystery Inc. ever managed to unmask the bunny man, it didn't matter. After those 2 encounters, his legacy was cemented, and the legend of the bunny man was born. The sightings and stories continued, becoming more outlandish and less verifiable with each passing year. Much like rabbits, they multiplied and spread, new generations breeding new lore. As rumors swirled, eventually the bunny man was known as not just a hatchet-wielding cosplayer, but an alleged serial killer, escaped convict, Halloween monster, and ghost. By 1973, a University of Maryland research paper documented 54 variations of the story, involving the axe-armed bunny man chasing or terrorizing children, attacking cars and or couples, vandalizing property, and, in 3 cases, committing murder. Throughout the 80s and 90s, more grisly deaths were attributed to the bunny man in increasingly ghoulish tales. Stories of the loathsome leopard stretched from city to city across the Washington, D.C. area, though the most frequently cited location remained Virginia's Fairfax County, where the original sightings occurred. Eventually, one particular place became synonymous with our flop-eared fiend, the Colchester overpass in Clifton, Virginia. The overpass connection was popularized and added to Bunnyman canon in 1999 when a story was posted to the blog Castle of Spirits. The author claimed that, at the stroke of midnight on Halloween 1905, 3 teenagers had their throats slashed before being gutted and strung up to the overpass. The same thing happened the following Halloween, and again in 1913, 1943, and 1976. Though the number of victims varied, they were always killed in groups of 3, with the murders preceded by a mysterious flashing light. The story was published under the name Timothy C. Forbes, and the Virginia-based author swore all of it was true, adding that it was common knowledge among locals and that every detail could be verified by town records at the Old Clifton Library.
Sure, Jan.
Well, shocking as it might be, the author formerly known as Timothy Forbes was lying. There's no record of any of this happening. The Old Clifton Library doesn't even exist. But regardless of its veracity, the story still tantalized readers. Even now, decades later, visitors make paranormal pilgrimages to the so-called Bunnyman Bridge, bringing their spirit-summoning gadgetry in pursuit of all things mischievous, murderous, and Mad Hatterous. But what of Bunnyman himself? Of all the purported sightings and stories that took place after 1970, were any of them real? Or did he just vanish one day, hopping his way back into the blood-splattered backwoods of a Lewis Carroll horror novel? Maybe now he's just an urban legend, hoax, or faded memory, but he was real once upon a time, and perhaps he still is. Maybe he's lurking in the shadows, hiding around corners, peering out at passing motorists from the forest, waiting under overpasses with his hatchet in hand every Halloween. If you're lucky, you'll never find out. He'll stay tucked away in the land of make-believe, your car windows left mercifully unbroken. But be cautious, because whether they're monsters or men, dangerous creatures have a way of sneaking out the pages of our storybooks and into the dark recesses of our world.